When thinking of the word anti-Semitism, usually a few names come to mind. Names like Anne Frank, Heinrich Himmler, and Adolf Hitler. Yet, according to an article by History.com, anti-Semitism is anything but a new term. There is evidence of hostility towards Jews long before the Holocaust, even as far back as the ancient world. So if anti-Semitism is so old, why did these names come to mind? It is because the Holocaust was a traumatic event that was a definite eye-opener to how cruel people could actually be. Adolf Hitler was a soldier and murderer, and like most anti-Semites, he blamed Germany's loss on the Jews. After the war, Hitler joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party, also known as the Nazis. The History.com staff also said Hitler, as the leader of the Nazis, organized the Beer Hall Push. It was an attempted takeover of a small state in Germany. It failed, and Hitler was imprisoned for his acts of treason. While imprisoned, he wrote the Mein Kampf, his memoir, which, according to History.com, he predicted a war resulting in the extermination of the Jewish race in Germany. After being released from prison, Hitler built up the status of the Nazi Party, and after the death of the President of Germany, he anointed himself the supreme ruler. According to an article done by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, before Hitler came to power, the Jewish population in Europe was approximately 9 million. But that all comes to change with the administration of Hitler's plan, the final solution. The Nazi regime, upon first coming to power, created concentration camps to detain real and imagined political and ideological opponents. Though in years closer to the war, police officials used the camps to house all type of undesirables. Undesirables being the Jews, which were the Nazis' main target, the Roma, which were gypsies, and mentally or physically disabled patients. The Nazis were driven by a racist idea that regarded Jews as a parasitic vermin worthy only of eradication. Some might say that the Nazis did not discriminate on which undesirable they would target first. But according to an interview done by Connolly, she said, "We could not have imagined that they would kill little children until we realized that killing children was their primary goal to prevent any new generations." The Nazis wanted to completely annihilate the Jews. Beginning in the late 1941, the Germans began mass transports from the ghettos in Poland to concentration camps, starting with those people viewed as the least useful, the sick, old, weak, and the very young. The Nazis wanted the Jews contained, believing their racial and inferior genetic makeup spawned the exploitative systems of capitalism and communism. Once the Jews were in camps, they would make the undesirables work to build up large industrial projects. At Auschwitz alone, more than 2 million people were murdered in a process reassembling a large-scale industrial operation. Once they were deemed useless by the Nazis, meaning they could no longer work, they were gassed in mass gassings. According to staff at History.com, the first mass gassing began in the camp of Belzec near Lublin on March 17, 1942. 5 more mass killing centers were built at the camps in occupied Poland, including Kelmanor, Sobibor, Treblinka, and Majdanek, and the largest of all, Auschwitz. Jews from all over Europe were being cattle trained in these camps. Even though there were so many of these camps, the Nazis did not want people to know about the operations inside of the camps. But due to the large scales of the killing, that was impossible. According to a website by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, Allied forces eventually broke defenses and started to encounter and liberate concentration camp prisoners, as well as prisoners en route by forced march from one camp to another. The staff at History.com mentioned that German leadership was dissolving amid internal dissent, with Göring and Himmler both seeking to distance themselves from Hitler to take power. The Nazis has begun to lose the war tremendously, and even Hitler realized the war was over. In his last will and political testament, dictated in a German bunker that April 29th, Hitler blamed the war on international Jewry and its helpers, and urged that German leaders and people to follow the strict observance of the racial laws with merciless resistance against the universal poisoners of all peoples, the Jews. The next day, Hitler committed suicide. Death marches continued until May 7, 1945, the day the German armed forces surrendered unconditionally to the Allies. World War II officially ended in Europe on the next day, May 8th. Anti-Semitism makes us all think of the Holocaust because the cruelty and brutality that occurred during the Holocaust. The Nazi Party, under Adolf Hitler, was relentless, killing millions of people they deemed undesirable, making those undesirables march miles to camps. The lucky ones died on the trip, while others kept marching, eventually arriving at camps where they worked themselves literally to death. The Holocaust was a dark time in history, and definitely showed the world how cruel people could be.